Well, hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner of YouTube. And it's January the 29th, 2022. It's a Saturday, it's grey and damp where I am, and so it's perfect to do some fragment variations for the Fragments of Your Imagination challenge hosted on the 7F5R challenge Facebook group. And today's fragment is from a pattern I haven't come across before, though I do recognise it from one of the extra fragments that I did a little while back, a few days ago. But it's an interesting one. It's called Gingajava, and it's by Donald Wilka, who's a CZT, and it's a really quite interesting fragments in many ways, I think, because I think there's potential for some quite simple variations. So the first thing to do is I'll draw this again. This is the fragment that we're working with. I'll just scooch it up a bit. And so I tend to put the outside aura in first. And then there's 3 auras, and this section here will colour in black. And then at the tip of this, there's 3 teardrop shapes arranged like so. I'm going to leave them blank in this one. And then we have simple curved lines there. And in the original fragment for the challenge today, there's 2 lines with the outermost bit coloured in. Yeah, I did 3. So that's quite nice. And I just thought of something else before I do another fragment or another variation. So this time I'm putting a dot where I want these to be. And again, I'm going to pop in 3 auras on each side, and I'm then going to, instead of colouring the one at the corner of this, corners of the square, let's pop it in as like a band, like a ribbon, a shiny ribbon. And this one, I think I'm going to do, instead of teardrops, let's pop 3 heart shapes in. As this one's a bit wonky, I can, if I colour them in, I can then adjust the shape a little bit to get it a bit more even. So there we are. And talking of hearts, this was my next kind of variation I was thinking of for this. So again, I'm going to pop that there. Let's do that. And I'm going to pop a circle there. Perhaps here. I'm just going to darken the corner a little bit. In fact, I'm very tempted to do this to all the corners on this one and see what happens. We get an interesting kind of shape there. I'm not sure I'm convinced about that one. So let me just do this one again. I've just worked out how to do this bit. Put the dot in. And these are roughly in line with that dot. Roughly, I say. Okay. And I think that's an easier way than trying to draw it in any other way. So let me just pop that one in, and we'll just round that corner. Not quite sure what I was thinking there. In fairness, I am kind of half asleep still. Broken night's sleep. The usual kind of thing. So I've put a circle there. So how about a single heart? And this time I'll put those there, but not, well, it feels balanced if I colour that in. I do have to say that. Okay. So what else could we do here? We have this going out, so why don't we have a smaller version of it over this side? And here I'm just going to do 2 auras, and I'm going to leave them both empty. This one I'm just going to leave as it is, and I'm trying to think of any other shapes you could put here. Instead of drawing it like that, let's make it like a club that you'd find on a pack of cards, which then we've done hearts, diamonds, so let's do spades, which is it's basically a heart, but instead of putting the point, having the point of this corner joining the point of the heart, put the point in the middle there, and then a diamond, just to complete the suits. It's actually kind of a square. I haven't done a very good job there. These little bits here do make the square feel that we've got corners turned up. So if I round the corners a bit, then I can put these little frills in each of the corners. Put on this one, perhaps a bigger one, so we could add perhaps 3 there. So that's a different variation. Okay, can I think of anything else? Sure I can. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this one is get that quite small. But let's add a lovely big orb in there. And then for this lovely big orb, we can and I'm not going to do loads of variations of these, but it's just a nice way, I think, of reminding myself that if I put a nice big shape there, then I can fill it in different ways. So here, instead of having one of these smaller than the other, I'm going to make them the same size, and I think I'm going to pop a square in there that's held in place by these, and I think pop that there, and we could even, there we go, so that gives some definite, get a brush pen here so I can quickly fill this space in with black without fussing around too much. Black brush pen, this one's got quite a thick nib on it, but you can get them with thinner nibs. I think are a very effective tool to have in your toolkit or your pen kit. That actually, you wouldn't think that was that, would you? Except, let's have a look at doing this again. I'm going to put this border in like that, and then I'm going to do this, so they're opposite each other, so we've got that nice space here that we could use for other things, especially if, because I didn't think ahead. I say I didn't think ahead. Sometimes it's hard to think fully through something until you have let me pop this in before I add anything to these. Before I see it, and then I see it and I go, oh yeah, could have done that. Okay, how about if we have a couple of open hearts, and I'll draw a smaller square that joins them like that. And here for this one, I'm going to colour the centre in black. Just give a bit more of an outline. Let's see if I can get that parallel. So it looks more like a square. So that's quite a nice variation. I like that. Here we are. It's boldly going forwards. All right, how else can we do this? Okay, let's try this. I'm going to make these quite a bit bigger than I have done so far, I think. I'm just going to leave them like this. What I'm going to do here is pop a diamond shape behind them. That's something a little bit different. See, what did I say about having a brush pen and making use of it? And what am I doing now? Not making use of a brush pen. Black is also really useful, filling in areas of black if the shape that you want isn't quite right. You can alter it and change it to get it as you'd like it to be. And for this, I'm going to look a spiral. It's actually interesting how they connect with this here. In hindsight, it might have been a good idea to pop them in first, so let's do that. Again, I'm just going to leave. Actually, I might just pop a bit of black in the corner. Still interesting. I think there's something to be said for this. You know I love my spirals. Or you will know I love my spirals if you visited here frequently. I don't think there's very many patterns go by without me adding a spiral somewhere, or drawings. So that's quite nice. But here, instead of a square or a diamond, let's pop a circle in, and I am going to aura it. So I've got my brush pen. Let's colour these corners in. I prefer a brush pen that's got a stiffer nib than this one, I can say that. Now I've got a choice. I can leave this blank, I could add colour, or I could add a pattern in there, texture. I'm going to leave as it is for now. And these little bits of black here, help to tie in the background in some way, so it feels like this overlays the black background. Okay, let's go full on 4 corners. So let's do this one. And then I think I'll pop a heart on the top of each. So that is quite nice, and I think I could get an orb to fit between them as well. There we go. So that's quite nice, but I think I'm going to turn my hearts black. A different colour would be fun as well. You know, using a red pen, I suppose, for this will be fantastic, especially as we're coming up to Valentine's Day, isn't it? But yeah, so that gives it a different feel. I quite like that, having the 4, because I am big on symmetry, and I know that repeating the fragments will get you that symmetry, but within the fragment it's also nice. But it's also a way where I could take, if I get my pencil, so with this one, if I chop this into 4, then I can extract 1 quarter as my fragment. So a nice big heart there, and then that circle. So that would work as well as something a bit different, perhaps. So that's a quarter of this one. So I'll show that with an arrow on my, but from that to that. It's a little bit different. I've got more of the heart there. I could have done with making this a lot bigger because it's about half the square. So let's have a look at doing that. So if I do this as about half of the square, then my heart would be about so big, and then we get that there and that there. This would be easier to draw before I draw the heart, so this first arc here would be, but there we are. So that's the same kind of thing. Of course, I could have popped any motif there. I could have done this one, I could have, whatever you like. So I've got lots of variations on squares. So what about other shapes? Well, the next shape I usually go to is a triangle. So how am I going to do this? I think I'll start at the corner for this, and we can't really have, we could pop those in, we could have these in the corners. So we have got that option in, and that works far nicer in the triangular format than it does in the square. Let's have a look at perhaps doing something a bit more. I'm going to make that at the top just a fair bit bigger, and this too a fair bit bigger, and have it touching. So, and this time I'm going to pop a circle behind it. So essentially I've inverted this, haven't I, into something else. I could have popped a furl in, but I haven't. So So that's quite nice. Is there another way of doing this? Possibly. So let's do this way. And then that would work quite nicely. There we go. But all the other variations are possible, I think. Let's give it a go with getting one of these kinds of things going on. And I think it'll be easier if I do it with this way, with this kind of fragments. And I'm going to pop that there. I'm going to get that to touch that circular thing here. And so we've got that, so that would work as well. If that inner part, or this little bit here, was kept clear, as in not black, not coloured in black, I should say, then we can add this, add the black in, black ink, and it becomes that inner triangle, emphasises the triangular shape of the fragment. So that's quite nice. These do look like almost like inverted versions of each other, don't they? Almost, not quite. Yeah, so that would work. As would having the fragment or this particular motif on 3 sides pointing towards the centre. And I'm going to just colour that in all in black, because that is a variant, I suppose. And we could pop a triangle in there. I'll try this again. But make these slightly bigger. I'm sure we've come across something like this before this month. Ah, now then, I don't have space for one of these, so I'll just pop a little circle in there instead. Okay, let's try that idea, but going from the corners instead. Because we've got a bit more space to play with when you work from the corners than from the sides. So I'm just going to pop a circle at the top, and perhaps a curved line with a ball on the end. I am drawing these just a little bit on the small side today by the looks on it, but I think you get the idea. So that'll work. Okay. And anything I do with the square can be done in a triangle. So that's the triangle done. What about a circle? Well, I think I've worked out that just about anything you can do in any other shape, you can do in a circle. So let's have a look here. So you can't really pop that shape there, so I've made it a circle or a semicircular shape. But we could equally just pop this in this kind of way and ignore that little bit there. Actually, that works quite nicely. I like that. Okay. If we do that, and let me just pop a heart in there, then we can put that inner aura in and around, and perhaps we can echo this shape there, which is quite nice. Holds the heart in place, stops it from slipping and sliding around. There we go. Okie dokes. And again, anything we can do in a square or a triangle can definitely be done in a circle. It's just trying to look to see if there's anything different you can do with a circle. And possibly, but I can't think of it. Okay, leaf shape, because a leaf shape is kind of like a circle pinched at top and bottom and pulled a bit to stretch it out that way. Well, with this we do have a couple of possibilities, I think, because we can easily fit in the original version in here. But we can also go not from point to point but side to side. We can also do something there. So I've popped that sort of crescent moony shape there, which sort of doesn't work very well, but we could put a smaller version of this instead. So that would be quite nice. Okay, and again, anything we can do in a square or a triangle, we can do there. So we can put that inner, a border within the shape, if that makes sense. Okay. And you could slide this around so you have it at a diagonal. I'm not quite sure how that would work. What I've done is to start this at the corner and down. If I go over here, I can pop perhaps that in, and then pop a heart shape in, just for a bit of variation. I'm not sure if that's of any use, but it is a variant. And that would be quite nice coloured in black. I keep putting my black pen back over there instead of leaving it near me. It's habit, because I keep a tray. Well, I say I keep a tray. I usually keep a tray of pens on my desk so that I can pop them back in there when I'm not using them and they don't disappear off into the nether regions of under the table, behind whatever, and they roll off. And it's just habit to pop things back in there. So that gives a slightly different shape. Okay, teardrops. Two teardrops. One. Is to have things going this way. And then this one is more true to the original fragments. Okay. And of course we could pop it on the side, but I think that would feels unbalanced with teardrops because there's such a distinct line of symmetry in them, like there is here. This doesn't feel quite right, but this one where I've taken this line of symmetry, this one and this one do, where they've got the lines of symmetry. Okie doke, so that works nicely. The ginkgo leaf shape would work in a similar way, as would the more bell-shaped version, because they're basically teardrop shapes. So they'd work as well. So if I do this one, then and that works quite nicely there. Again, we could do it the opposite way, but that feels quite right. And then this ginkgo leaf shape again. I will, and this one's really nice because this shape, the shape of this line echoes the shape of this line really nicely. So that's actually a nice variation, is in that kind of shape. Okie dokes. Other shapes, let's have a look at Pentagon. So I'm going to pop that in, and we can do that, or we can do it the other way. Where we do this shape coming from the upper point, in this case, and perhaps a smaller version at the bottom, and this is a bit off centre because I've got a wonky pentagon, but it works the same kind of way. I will just colour these in. Now, and with this one, I managed to swoop these upwards so it looks a bit more, yeah, a different shape of leaf. I think it's because I was consciously sort of thinking, oh, I'll point them towards these points here, so that it looks like, you know, it's mimicking the shape of the pentagon. And let me do the same thing with this one, except it's going to be a bit more interesting, I think, because I have a shape there, 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 and there. And then that fits there. You could pop these all the way around the pentagon if you want to work with pentagons, but keeping it with this, I'll show you what I mean though, because I've thought of it, so it needs to go on paper before I forget it. So we're popping that there. We're going to have a shape that goes towards those corners, and another two that go towards these. And then what I can do here, here, and here perhaps is pop these in. Can't do it on these sides because we've made use of those sides for this particular fragment, but I think I prefer it this way. That looks a bit too cluttered and too uneven. Okay, hexagons, because hexagons do tessellate nicely, or form a reticulum nicely. Okay, let's do something. So I've put mucas along the edge of this shape here and curling up round, holding that orb there. And then, in keeping with the fragment, we'll do that, but in keeping with Angela's kind of fragments, can do this as well. There we are, so there's those. Okay, semicircles. That's going to be an interesting one. We've got options. I think I quite like this. And perhaps with a little one there. Could do them in the corners, but I don't think it'll work. I think you could do it the other way around though. And here perhaps this one echoes the whole shape, which is quite nice. I could have done it there, but it would have felt a bit awkward, I think. Okay, and if we're going to do those, then it's not too far of a stretch to go to polygons. And again, I think of the two variations there, I think I prefer this way, I think. Oh, it looks like a bean. There we go. So I will do one the other way round just to compare and contrast. There we go. And I think the final thing is in a random shape. I think it's called Pick Your Side Wisely, where you can get this shape in well. Not in well as in well the pattern, but get it well fitted. So there's plenty of it. And then like that. So that would work quite nicely. So that would work. I'm just trying to think, are there any other shapes? Kite shape. Let's have a look at a kite. So again, you've got the options of this way. This way. If you want something that's asymmetrical, it's to go opposite like that. Not sure that works. I think that is about it. Oh, it's thinking about toppers you could have. You know, the toppers, the bits that the finials that ends that the point of this this shape. We've got hearts upside down, right side up, so if I pop them like this, you could have just a single leaf shape. You can have a club kind of shape. That's a better version of it. You could pop a diamond there. Something like that. Oh, it's having shapes like that. And the ever lovely shape like that. You're doing them on a big enough scale, you could even pop a little flower on the end of them. It's just some ideas for variants there. The spaces that you create, you can fill in any way you like. And the same with these blank spaces, is that this one is, there's a lot of blank space here, but I think that patterns would perhaps help to give some structure to this, perhaps. And fill perhaps part of this in with black. So that just helps, I think, to split things up or to lift things up. Perhaps gone a bit too crazy with the black there, but the idea is there. So yeah, I think I'm done with this now. Time for perhaps just for a quick bit of shading, possibly. What do you think? Yeah, I think so. Let's go for it and see what we can do. I'm using a violet tortillon here because it's not tortillon, chalk pastel, because it will actually work nicely with the background. So let's pop some shading in different places. Actually, I don't really want that big fat one. Let's go hunting a smaller, thinner one. Oh, there we go. Maybe teeny tiny tortillon here. Just add some shadowing there. Let's try and add shadow on the outsides of these areas. And just see how that works. All right. This one, I'm going to pop some shadow in side this to bring that into the forefront, and then I will add some shadow in the centre of this square. Well, the inner part of the square, I should say, out, but leaving the corners highlighted, I think, so that there's some variation, or perhaps trying to get that feeling of it, the square being perhaps a little bit folded. I don't know. I'm going to try that with this one by popping shadow here and here and up through the centre, and perhaps just softening that a little bit. It's really between these two I want to get a really deep dark shadowing going on. Yep, that adds a kind of fold, a crease there. Okay, let's try this in the opposite direction with this one. So I'm going to focus on these corners having shading, perhaps. There's a little bit underneath these. That could possibly work. This one would definitely work. I think. Hard for me to see. Okay, others. Do some shadowing around the outside. I'm picking this one just because I have, for no other reason. It's not more special than the other ones that are like this, but it's about where that shadow goes. and that's quite nice. That brings everything, these upwards towards us. Okay, let's have a look at some of the triangular ones. Let's do this kind of feeling that perhaps there's a shadow is here. So that kind of works perhaps. Take the shadow from the top of this inner triangle down perhaps. Okay, this one, I'm going to add some shadow underneath these and these, and perhaps underneath the hearts. Just to pick that heart up, but I could also just pop a little bit here, but leaving white around it. So we've got highlights around it, which helps, I think, with how dimensional that looks. This one, let's do that folded feeling again. So that works kind of okay, possibly. This wiggly wobbly one, you know, I want to turn it into it's like a hole in paper, don't you? Which means the shadow's going to be mostly where the light's coming from this direction. Then the light will not get to this part, but it might, some of it might get to the lower areas. So just a hint of shadow elsewhere, but keeping it dark towards that side. Okay. This one I'm just going to do a shadow right to the edge. I'm not going to try and keep it in that area, not spread it out too much. Just blend it out just a little bit, just to soften the edge, and that gives it quite a pillow shape. This one, let's have a look and see what happens here. I think I'm going to have to just pop some shadow or colour behind it. Can't think of anything else that I could do here. No. Put a drop shadow outside of this shape. So perhaps it appears to be floating just a little bit. Possibly. Possibly. It's not something I'm very skilled at, I have to say. It's that one. That's a bit better. So there we are. I think I'm done. I'm done with these now. And I mean that nicely. I'm not saying I'm done. I'm done in a frustrated kind of way. But I think that is my, as much as I want to deal with this one. Looked at this, trying to keep true to the original in many ways, with this this kind of structure and something on the point. I have varied things. I mean, that is the one that I don't like. I don't know what was going through my head there, but sometimes things go through my head, I try them out and I realise, I want a good idea, but it's on paper, it's not a finished drawing, it's something to refer to. And so I'm going to say thank you once again for joining me here. And I hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen. This gives you some inspiration. I'm certainly going to put this into my book and keep it quite nice and safe. And no doubt these fragments, or some of them, will appear in my artwork at some time. The problem is now I have so many of them, I don't know what to do with them all. Overwhelmed. I think I'm going to have to pick out, you know, odd favourites and pop them into a reference book, as it were, so that I've got something to look at and to make use of. With just a couple of them, but who knows. Tangles like life. Tangle patterns, fragments are always in flux, are always changing. And what seems good to me now, in a day or a week or a month or a year or a decade, might not appeal anymore. So we'll see what happens. So until I see you again, take care of yourselves and find time to be creative. Bye-bye for now. Bye.